It's been about a month or so since I picked up my Nintendo Switch OLED model on release day, and I'm really excited to share my thoughts with you, finally. In Canada, it's about $449 plus tax for the Nintendo Switch OLED and about $379 plus tax for the OG Switch, which I have behind me. So a good $70 difference to get your hands on the OLED as opposed to the original Switch, which is the cost of about a full game here in Canada. And finally, cost-wise, the Switch Lite is $259 Canadian, so is it really worth spending the extra money to get your hands on the OLED model? I wanted to share my thoughts in this video and help you decide which Switch is best for you depending on your own gaming needs. Let me just grab my coffee real quick. It is so chilly in my house right now and I'm so worried because it's still technically fall time where I'm from, but we're supposed to have one of the coldest winters in a long time. I'm gonna definitely need this to warm up today, but that's a complete side note. So of course this whole video is based on my own opinion, and it's also not going to go over, the fine technical specs. So if that's something that you are looking for to help with your decision on which Switch to buy, I will not have that. This is more so going to talk about my own experience and my own needs as a casual gamer. But I hope you still find this helpful, and with that said, to start off, I can let you know my own needs as a gamer. And when it comes to playing Nintendo specifically, I primarily play on handheld mode. If I wanted to play certain games on big screen on TV or even on PC, well, I go to the other platforms for that. I also love PC gaming and Xbox and PlayStation. We don't discriminate here. But when reaching for my Switch, or when I'm in the mood to play Nintendo specific games in particular, I do mainly play on handheld. I very rarely dock my Switch. I only really do it if I have to film gameplay for my channel, or the rare occasion that I do like a couch co-op game with family. Gaming, as most of my subscribers might know, is a very personal me time thing for me. It's my way to wind down, so I love playing handheld games in bed or curled up in a couch. So taking all of that into consideration, I can confidently say that the Nintendo Switch OLED was a really nice upgrade for me and my needs. First, let's talk about the screen. As soon as I unboxed this thing, and I will link that unboxing video somewhere on the screen as well, I was immediately blown away because I didn't expect the difference in size to be so apparent, especially in person. The bezel-less screen is beautiful and the colors are vibrant, the images are sharp. It has been a literal game changer, and I didn't imagine that I could love playing on my Switch even more than before. If you're someone who might use your Switch dock more, they did upgrade the dock a little bit with the OLED model with a little bit of a different look, but also the biggest addition is the LAN port. If you play a lot of games online, then you might rely on a more stable connection, and there is nothing more stable than a hardwired LAN connection. But mainly on the Switch itself, since I do again play it mostly on handheld mode, they upgraded the speakers as well. I don't usually blast the sound when I'm playing anyway, but it's still really nice to have, especially if you might use your Switch on tabletop mode and play it that way as like a mini screen or a mini TV. Like, we just recently got the Twitch app on Switch finally, and there's of course YouTube and other streaming media. So having the better, more punchy speakers for that is probably more ideal, and it can sound pretty impressive on the Switch as well. Speaking of tabletop mode, let me put down my cup for this. The new kickstand is just beautiful. I mean, if you own the OG Switch, well, a lot of people were having trouble with the kickstand coming loose and it doesn't actually prop up their Switch anymore, or it just breaks off completely, in which case, well, that's not ideal, is it? So having a really nice and sturdy and large kickstand, I feel like this is the kickstand that should have shipped out with the previous Switch, because since they promote the Switch to be, able to switch between these 3 different gaming modes, the previous kickstand was not something to write home about. Another nice addition, which is something that you can't physically see, but they actually doubled the internal storage from 32 gigabytes to 64 gigabytes, and that actually makes a nice change. If you don't download too many digital games, 64 gigabytes can take you a long way. Or even if you do like to download digital games, I think I had just over a dozen games on my OLED model before I actually installed an additional SD card. That is probably more than enough for a lot of you, because the Switch also lets you archive games that you might not be playing as much currently to make room for more, newer ones that you do want to play. Overall, I've really enjoyed my time with the Switch OLED, and I will say that it's absolutely worth buying for me. Considering what I'm looking for, considering that I play it mostly on handheld mode, I know that I can really enjoy all the additions that I've mentioned, even the ones on the dock. It's nice to have, and the OLED Switch just feels much more of a complete and premium console, which is also a nice bonus. When you hold it in hand compared to the OG Switch, it feels really nice and looks really nice as well. I love the sleek black and white and the completely white dock. If you are buying your very first Switch, or you're upgrading from the Lite and you've never owned the original model of the Switch before, I would probably encourage you to go for the OLED Switch, just because the upgrades, though might be minimal for others, I think is absolutely worth it, whether you're playing handheld, tabletop, or docked mode. With that said though, if you already own the OG Switch and you mostly play on docked mode, the OLED Switch might not be a worth it upgrade for you. Or even if it's your first time buying a Switch, but you know that maybe you prefer playing on docked mode because you're used to playing on the big screen TV or on PC, Most of what I love and what I recommend the Switch OLED for is most apparent when you're playing on handheld or even tabletop mode. But if your Switch will just live in the dock for most of its life, it will not make that much of a difference to you at all. As for something like the built-in LAN port, there are a lot of very affordable options that can let you convert one of your USB ports in the back of the dock into a LAN port. So much more affordable, certainly less than the extra $70 that I paid to upgrade to the OLED Switch. On the other hand, if you are someone who doesn't care about docking capabilities at all, then you might want to consider the Switch Lite as well. Hold on. Here is my Indigo Switch Lite. It is so beautiful. It reminds me so much of the Indigo Game Boy Advance. I did do an unboxing for this as well if you want to check it out in more detail, but I love the Switch Lite so much. It's actually what I prefer to carry around with me, throw in my purse. It's small, it's light. I love the compact form factor and feels like a true handheld without, the moving parts of the Joy-Con and even the kickstand in the back. It's also a really nice companion to a full-sized Switch if you want to own both, because of the saved data cloud that is offered when you're a Nintendo Switch Online member. It makes it really easy to pick this up and continue the games you play on your other Switch on the go and, continue your save games. There are a very, very few games that don't support the save cloud feature and also aren't playable on the Switch Lite, so if that's something that you're curious about, I would highly recommend that you visit the Nintendo website to find out. It's probably the best way rather than me listing it on here, because that is the most up to date, and depending on when you watch this video, it could have already changed. Here it is side by side with the OLED Switch, and I feel like the larger screen just looks massive beside the Switch Lite especially, doesn't it? But Kat, what good is a Switch that doesn't switch? Well, it's to play Nintendo Switch games, obviously. It's to play it portably on the go because the Switch is the current gen console that Nintendo is producing games for. I think if you grew up on the Game Boy and the rest of the Nintendo line of handhelds, you really buy a handheld console specifically to play games on handheld specifically. I actually wasn't an early adopter of the Nintendo Switch when it first released because I was trying to wait for something like the Switch Lite to come out. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I like playing certain games on certain platforms, and while the Switch library has expanded so much now as compared to when I bought my first Switch in 2018, I want to say, I still go to Nintendo mostly for games that I want to enjoy portably. If you want my detailed thoughts on why I think the Lite is worth it, I did make another video about it a while back that I will link for you as well. Feel free to go check it out. Back to this baby. I hope that my experience with the OLED Switch and the rest of the Switch models will help you in making your decision, whether you're buying a Switch for yourself or you're gifting it for someone in the upcoming holidays or another special occasion. Speaking of gifting, by the way, if you are looking for more gift ideas for the Switch or other gaming goodness, definitely please be on the lookout for my next video, because I've got a lot of gems in that one that I think will be helpful in helping you gift yourself and your loved ones. Thank you so much for watching, my friends. Have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.